في أكبر الكتب.
Congratulations, you have found the Lambcast, the official podcast of the large association of movie blogs, also known as the Lamb. The Lamb is the largest collective of online movie blogs and podcasts with 2,000 members and counting. Every week on the Lambcast, various members of the Lamb community get together to talk about our favorite subject, movies. So bookmark the Lamb and follow us on social media. Be sure to join us each week to hear a lively discussion of films and movie-related talk from our members. Join the flock at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lambcast. I'm your host, Richard Kirkham from Kirkham A Movie A Day. This week, we have an end-of-summer treat for you. Not a single scoop or even a double scoop, but an indulgent triple scoop of horror films to finish off one season and set up the next. We get a film that finishes off a franchise, if you believe that, a Stephen King novel brought to the screen by Hunger Games veteran Francis Lawrence, and a Jordan Peele produced film featuring a social critique of football and Satanists. We have as guests two longtime horror fans who will help us navigate through the suspense, jump scares, tragedies, and visions that make up these films. First up is Lisa Leaheey from the Rabbit Hole podcast group. Lisa, I picked a new film, and I picked a horror film for this week specifically because that's what you told me you liked. I hope it all went well.
Well, for one of them, for one and a half of them it did, but yeah, sure, this works.
Good deal. Damien Riley of Riley on Film is a last-minute addition to the show, and he did something of a long walk himself, seeing all three of today's movies in the 3-day period between podcast recordings. Was that pace too much for you, Damien?
Heck yeah, it was. But I'll mention which one put me over the top. It wasn't the long walk or one other. It was the other one, which we'll talk about. I'm so proud of myself for getting 3 movies in. It went well.
Well, I appreciate you making the extra effort. I know you haven't been a regular film goer in the last year or so, and I felt like I was throwing a big pile of stuff on your shoulders, but you came through, and I'm glad to hear it.
Certainly a
Rick,
pile of something.
Such a humble guy. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Lisa.
No, it's my fault. I thought I'd get a quick quip in. I said it was certainly a pile of something.
It was. All right. We're going to talk about each. We're going to talk about each of these films individually at first, but we'll have a combined spoiler section to complete the discussion at the end. So if there are things that you think are spoilery, hold on to them because we'll do them all in one section at the end of the initial discussion. So we're going to talk about each film individually, and I thought we'd start with The Conjuring: Last Rites, which opened the earliest, has been the most successful at the box office. It's the fourth in part of a series, although there are 9 films that are kind of affiliated in this world. It's the fourth of the Conjuring films, and it's, like I said, it's been doing pretty well at the box office. But it opened a couple of weeks ago, so it's the one that's been around for the longest. Lisa, let's start with you. How did you feel about The Conjuring: Last Rites?
So I'm a fan of the Conjuring films, the specific films that come with the title The Conjuring. These spin-offs I don't think are good, but I really enjoy the first 2 films. The third one kind of fell a little flat for me. This one landed above the third, but under the first 2. What bums me out about this new film is that they have shoved to the side the family upon whom this whole story is based. They are focusing so much on the Warrens family themselves that they've forgotten the Smurls. And there are some things that happen in this film that go completely uncommented on. And there's so much stuff wedged into the story that this is no longer about the Smurls and the haunting that occurred in their home in Pennsylvania. This is only about the Warrens. And I found that unsatisfying.
I understand. I agree with you to some degree, and I'll get to my thoughts a little bit more in just a second. But I want to give Damien a chance to chime on this first. Some general thoughts about the movie before we get into specifics, Damien.
Yeah, I liked it because when you first told me about it, what, last week?
Wednesday.
I knew it was coming. Yeah, I knew it was coming. But coming out, I'd heard it. I'd seen a trailer or two. I believe. I don't even think I saw a trailer actually. Like you said, I haven't gone to the theater a whole lot in the past year or so. I think I saw Twisters last. But anyways, yeah, everything Lisa said, I totally agree with. I mean, I feel like the second one is the one that really holds up for me as the one that really stands out, and that really surprises people. They say, "Oh, you don't like the first one? Oh my God, how can you not like the first one?" Always they say that, and I did. I don't know. The first one, it's almost like I don't know. It's like they needed sort of the seal of approval to really go nuts, and they did on the second one. And I really like the second one a little better. But I do like it that it's a based on a real life story, and I'll have a few things to say about it. Yeah, I just this is just kind of the overview part where you're asking me,
Sure.
and so I would say everything Lisa said. I mean, every comment she was making, like she said, one fell flat, like the third fell flat. Totally agree. Um, I know Lisa's a fellow horror aficionada,
Yeah.
so I'm looking forward to today. I really am. Rich is afraid of horror movies. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah, no, I'm just but he likes Jaws. He really
He
likes Jaws.
does like Jaws.
Who
Yeah.
and I
So
insist that Jaws is not a horror film.
I was a little upset that we focused more on Ed's heart condition than his guitar playing.
Mm.
Yeah. I think it's what is that in three or two? One of them he plays a guitar song, which is pretty neat. You remember that he calls all the kids down. He says, "Come on, we're going to just sing a song."
Oh,
I
sure.
thought
Yeah, that was the
that.
second one, I believe.
Oh yeah, see, that's what I like. So anyway, and then the nun came, and I kind of, oh God, what's happening here? But anyways, yeah, I think we got a lot to talk about. It's a lot of fun today, really
Yeah.
is. And The Conjuring, it was deep. I'll give it. I'll just give you a little kind of a little hint of what I think about it. I think it was pretty decent. I'll give it that.
Well, I thought that it fit very well in the category of the Conjuring films, separate from the ones that are kind of the part of the family. I think the only one that I've seen of those is the Annabelle or maybe Annabelle Creation. I may have seen both of those. I can't quite remember. It
Uh,
runs together in my head. But I have seen all of the Conjuring films, and I'm pretty much in agreement with you guys. I think that the first two are excellent. I enjoyed the third one, but I remember it probably the least.
Hmm.
And I thought this one was I like the fact that it doesn't quite go over the top at the end like some of the other ones do. It still has a climax that is a big set piece in the movie, but it's not one that is so overwhelming, filled with CGI and three stories being resolved all at once that it didn't feel like I was being shoveled a dessert in the last 10 minutes of the movie. I I thought it was
Amen.
I thought it
Amen.
was I thought it was very entertaining. Gave me the creeps several times. A couple of jump scares worked pretty well. So it did what a horror film is supposed to do. It raises the hackles on the back of your neck a few times and gives you an exciting thrill or two here and there. But I do think, like I would agree with Lisa, that I would have enjoyed and been more interested in seeing more about the Smurl family and what they're faced. That was the intriguing part of the original Conjuring that we spent so much time before Ed and Lorraine appeared on the scene.
Right.
There's a framing story basically here about Ed and Lorraine, and they're setting it up as to be the conclusion of this series of films featuring those two characters. So I understand why they went that way, but it does, I think, shortchange the events and the problems that the Smurl family was facing.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, what is it that was missing that you think would have made this a better film?
So, I mean, it's interesting that you're talking about the frame stories because the frames that, well, they're not frames. In the original two films, there's a prologue story. And so I think one of the things that bothers me the most about this fourth film is, you put a tag of based on a true story. Okay. But you walk into these films and you have to take based on a true story with a grain of salt.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's fine. The first film you have Annabelle as the prologue, and they wove Annabelle into various things to the point that you have callbacks to it in this film that are not true at all. I've always been annoyed that their little museum, their locked room of all of these trinkets is in the house. It's not in the house. It never was in the house. It was on the Warrens' property, like underground way in the back of their land. It was never like, oh, it's right next door to this living room. Like that always made me insane. But the idea that, okay, so we've got this doll, we're going to make it creepy. All right, cool. In the second film, with the Enfield poltergeist, you have the Amityville horror. Great. Wonderful callback. I mean, obviously, you can't make a Warrens film about the Amityville horror because you're imposing on somebody else's rights, blah, blah, blah. The nun does not exist. The nun has never existed. There is no nun in Amityville horror. But then Valek and this whole idea was pretty effective in the second film. Okay, fine. Then you get all these spin-offs, yada, yada. I don't even remember this first thing that they connected with that now suddenly shows up in the Smurl home. None of that is real. Like, you are basing the entire climax of this film on stuff that didn't exist. And that, I think, is what gets me more. The first two films, you have these giant climaxes. Basically, in a Conjuring film, all of the endings are BS. They're not real. The Perron family did not have some giant possession exorcism. But, as a horror fan, you let it go because, one, most horror films have terrible endings anyway. And two, true hauntings are never as exciting as you want them to be. So, all right, you got to add to it. Fine. But with this story, with the Smurl specifically, and I know I'm going long, Richard, with this story specifically, you bring in this context with Annabelle. You bring in this context with this mirror. None of this occurs in the Pennsylvania haunting. So it's like now it's instead of the frame story and all this other stuff being about this haunting and this poor family who needs their help, it's all about them and their now adult daughter, which, I mean, whatever, you got to wrap up the story. And I think they do a nice job being, respectful to how they wrap everything up. And respectful as far as like, oh, isn't this lovely? You can tell they like this family. But the story of the Smurls themselves, I mean, I don't know how much we can get into as far as like spoilers and stuff, but there is a massive scene that occurs on one of these daughters, the oldest daughter, that it happens. It's horrifying. You're talking about jump scares. This is an incredible scene. And then it's never mentioned again. It's never mentioned again. You don't know, oh my God, here's what they said at the hospital. Oh my God, here's what we need to do next. It never comes up. It's like it didn't happen. And I remember sitting in the theater with my hands up going, are we going to talk about what just happened? And is there any after effect to this poor girl? Like, how's she doing? Nothing. And so it drove me crazy because it really went outside the boundaries of what made these films good. I don't even know if I answered your question. I'm doing my tangent.
Yeah, you did. No, that was pretty close. But it sounds like you know something about the original case and have read about it. Is there something that got left out that would have made a difference in this film?
I mean, some of it is in there. What happened to the dog is in there. This is not one that I knew well. So I did have to kind of go back and look. But I mean, all of these are inflamed in some way. But the idea that this family somehow buys this one mirror that Lorraine Warren had in that's not true. I do not believe that's true. That's just a way to tie things together and have them have a reason to get in there. So it bothers me simply because they have all these stories that were so intense, and now to completely fictionalize this one, again, I guess I'm offended on behalf of the Smurls, if that even makes sense. Um, there is no mirror. Like, there's no way. I don't, those kinds of, I mean, as hard as it is to believe that these sorts of hauntings exist to begin with, I like to believe they do. I sure as hell don't want to experience any of them, but there's no way. And so now what you've done is you've taken this family story, which, you know what, it's probably one of the lesser stories anyway, and they like wedged all of this extra stuff into it. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, I think that's obviously one of the things that you do with a horror film. You take inspiration from something that happened, and then you create a story around it. I don't know that it would be like you said, maybe a traditional haunting. The way it plays out in real life would not be as interesting a movie as you would hope. It might have elements to it that would be interesting, but it's not complete. There's not much character. There's not an antagonist that you can clearly identify, and you have to create some reason for everybody to be in the story. And I think that that's what this is all about. That's one of the I know you are not a person who watches the trailers.
I
Uh,
see them after the movie, so I
yeah,
have seen it.
and I'll go a different direction. I tend not to read the book or investigate the background of a story before I see the movie,
Sure.
because I want to experience the movie as a movie. And so I the other things are interesting to find out about afterwards. Like you might watch a trailer afterwards. I might check into the details of a story afterwards. I haven't checked into the Smurl story yet, but it would be something that would have been, like you said, it would be something that would be in the front of my brain while I'm watching the movie. Is this thing going to happen that they talked about in actually happening? And if it didn't, it would irritate me. And like you have found, the mirror edition seems completely superfluous to the original events. And here it is introduced as a way to create a connection between characters in the stories, and it's pissing you off.
Well, I mean, this is not one that I knew going in. I'm with you on some of the other ones. Like I was obviously very aware of the Burrillville haunting because it takes place in the state that I live. Um, so I came upon that possession scene at the end, and I went, okay, none of this happened, but it's a good scene. I can sever that connection. What makes me nuts in this film is that there's so many plot holes and so many things that just don't make sense that then it detracts because I'm like, well, if you hadn't wedged this in, then you probably would have had time to explain this other thing because you get a film that goes almost 2.5 hours long. Um, and as a result, I was wondering what was left on the editing floor because, you know, like there's just so much that doesn't quite tie together that I'm like, well, why bring the Smurls in at all? Why not just make a fully fictional story about this family, which is really kind of what they did, frankly. Um, you know, I didn't loathe the movie. As you said earlier, there are some really good jump scares. There's a jump scare in particular that actually got me. And that's big for me. I'm impressed when I jump because I don't often. Um, I just don't, Damien. It's just not a thing that happens anymore.
We
Um,
gotta have a Lambcast reunion hookup somewhere, and I don't know, I'm gonna pull a ghost trick on you, so beware.
I'll know it's coming.
Yeah,
It's
but you
just,
believe in them.
that is true. Yeah, there's like an interesting, so like you look up the Smurls, and I think what happened was they picked a story that they probably shouldn't have because there's not enough there. And that's why they filled in the gaps. And you know what? Maybe that's why they chose it. Um, Again, I'm rambling. It
That's
just
okay.
this idea that it disappointed me because they set the bar so high with the first two in balancing the fact and the fiction, enhancing the fact to make the fiction more entertaining. I'm okay with it when it works. I do not think it worked here. Maybe that's my point.
Okay.
I'm going to have one of Damien's cupcakes.
Oh my god,
Damien,
please look it up. It's such a funny
Oh, I know it.
little. Oh, you do it?
Damien,
Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
stop chomping on your cupcake right now and tell me what you thought. What what
Oh,
what would
shoot,
have made
man.
this better,
Okay.
or were you
All right.
satisfied with
All
everything?
right. All right. Well, I just want to talk about again. I can't believe I need to start listening to more times Lisa's on because I really like her. She's saying some
Oh,
great things.
thank you.
Yeah, I really do. And I like how you're kind of you're hitting things from a historical point of view, which is neat too. I sort of miss that, but I'll talk about that later. Anyway, illusions, and I'm not talking to you guys, but kiddos out there, that I've either taught literature to, or I know you're a teacher too, Lisa. So
I am. I'm also
illusion.
a literature teacher, so I'm with you.
Oh, kick ass. So illusion with an A. Okay. So let's talk about illusion with an A. These are things that are alluded to. And I just want to talk about two of them. One of them is, there's a lot of them. And it's honestly, sometimes it's cool, like in Birdman, just to throw you way out there. There's a lot of illusion. And when you pay attention to it, it gives you those chills because it's amazing. Birdman with Michael Keaton. It's not really a horror movie, but textbook illusions if you want to really study them. But in this one, in the beginning, you've got her having the baby and she's screaming, "Give me my baby," sort of in that mother, of all Incas and Mayans and just the vehicle of life, as Joseph Campbell would say. She is woman and she's saying, "Give me my child." And I guess the baby's dead. Yeah. Is that what it was? I mean, they weren't real clear.
Yeah, she
Like,
dies.
yeah,
Stillborn.
okay. She's calling out to the doctor, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" I'm not making fun of her. Like, I just, you know how it is. So they give her the baby, and its heart beats again, just amazingly. So I think that was an illusion right there. And well, right when it happened, I didn't really know it, but like later on in the movie, when things started happening to the daughter, I mean, I almost predicted that she was going to scream out, "Give me my baby" again, and she does toward the end. So, oh, wait a minute. Here's a spoiler. I'm so sorry. That's kind of a spoiler, but not really. It's
That's
more of
okay.
a literature a lesson. So anyway, they do a lot of that. The other thing I want to say, and I won't go into detail about it, but you mentioned the mirror. There's an illusion with the mirror, and we can talk about it later in the spoilers part. But it is. I found it okay. This is. I'll end with this. You know how like I'm starting to learn Instagram. I don't really know Instagram. My kids love it. My oldest daughter is 20. She's gonna be 21 in like a month, and then my son's 27, and they all, and then my little one's 18, and they all just are on Instagram. That's all they do. They don't do Facebook. They don't do anything. So in order to kind of get my music out or my podcast or whatever, I'm starting to kind of just connect with people more on Instagram. And they have these things called filters. Now you guys probably already know all about them, but I'm learning more about them. And I feel like this is the Conjuring filter. You know what I mean? I feel like they just, they kind of took an idea, hit it with the filter. And that's
Oh, I
it.
see. I see
Yeah,
what
You
you're
know,
talking about now.
that's
you
fair.
know what I'm saying? It's like on Instagram when you hit a filter. There's like a glitch filter. There's like a rainbow filter. There's these different filters, and there's even filters where you can make funny noses. That's more
Hmm.
Snapchat, which I have no idea about Snapchat, but that's more about Snapchat. Anyway, you get the idea. I'm trying to kind of make a joke, or it really could have been so much more. They could have really gone a different way with it, but instead, it's like it just got stamped with this. Okay, here's what we do, and we're going to make Lorraine kind of the superhero, which it is, and Ed is too, but he's starting to have his health conditions, so he's sort of a weaker character in it. Towards the end, he kind of kicks it in as dad, super dad. But it's like the people that get all tingly when they see a picture of Axl Rose now. You know what I mean? It's like appealing to that crowd. So it's just I don't know, man.
Well,
It was
okay.
cool.
I think I understand what you're saying, that there is
Yeah.
there's an impetus that the Conjuring is pressing onto the story to make it fit their world and present it in the way that would fit the mode of their storytelling. And
Yeah, and they really shortchanged, like Lisa was saying again.
all right,
They shortchanged the real. Well, I don't know the name of the
The
family. The
Smurl,
Smalls.
Smurl.
Yeah,
SMURL.
I mean, they could have been anything. That could have been completely fictional. Like she does a really good point. And it would have been more neat if they would have like actually had more of those little words that go across the screen, like the dragnet words to explain, this never happened again, and no one knew
Oh,
why. That kind of thing. if they have more facts about that family, I think that would have drew me in more. But it was just, it's like when you have success with something, you keep hitting it, and it's a little
Mhm.
annoying. I like filmmakers that do something completely new. Like one example of that would be what's the film that started out, and then it had Mary Elizabeth Winstead in it. The first one was kind of a found footage.
Cloverfield. You're talking about 10 Cloverfield
Yeah,
Lane.
and look how different they are. And then I
Mhm.
think there's a third one of that I didn't see, but the second one was it's like a completely different concept. It would have been really cool if they would have done that, but probably they had the producer going, we got to have more '70s phones. Did you notice how many '70s things they had? It's pretty
Mhm.
cool, but it's like that's not why we go to the movies. If you want to go to '70s things, I'll go down to the thrift store here. I'll look at
No,
'70s
I'm going to
phones.
disagree with you. That's why I go to the movies.
Okay, hit it. Yeah, really.
I'd
It's
I'd
neat.
be happy
I'll
to
give
be
it a
immersed
neat.
in 70s milieu. There you go.
But remember when she was on the phone in that first event? I'm not going to do a spoiler, but it's just the cord. She's pulling it around, and
Right.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, we remember, or at least I remember. That's what we had to do with phones. But I mean, I don't know.
I like that bit, by the way. I like the idea that
But you like
the f-
Spinal Tap too? No, I'm just kidding. That
but
was a joke.
the the uh, the cord being held by the girls, they do that fake out at the beginning, and it's a teasing thing, and the fact
Yeah,
that it's being repeated, and this time, of course, by something else.
Right.
That's
you're thinking it's
they
creative
well,
usage.
no, well, they set it up more. I mean, if they'd
Yeah.
done it without the girls before,
That
it
would have
would have
been great.
it would have been different. It would have had a creepy effect. But I like the fact that she freaks out because she sees the girls in the background playing, and suddenly then it's different.
Oh, that was good. You're
That
right.
to me
You got me there.
was the part that I liked. Well,
Like when they're on the other stairway,
yeah,
with like she looks down the hallway and they're
and they
like
run up the
so
stairs.
physically far away that they
Yeah,
couldn't have been them.
right.
That was
It's
pretty
not
cool.
them.
I don't know. It's just like when I go to a horror movie, Lisa, I'm not really familiar with the type. I don't know if you're into body horror or different things, but the thing that I'm really into is the creepiness of things, and
Mhm.
it was approaching creepiness. And there wasn't gore, which I'm not really super into gore. Sometimes it works, but it's like it's trying to be creepy, but it's also it's just like kind of a nostalgia filter. And so that was a little not
Okay.
annoying, but it was just sort of like, okay, I see what they're gonna do here, and
Well,
it never really
let's take a
blacked
bite of
off.
cupcake at this moment, and
I
and
love it. I love it. Thanks, Coach.
we'll close our discussion for the moment of The Conjuring. We'll come back and talk about spoilers in our last section. Uh,
Amen.
let's get to the next film on our list. I kind of ordered these in the order in which they were released because that's the
Makes
order
sense.
that I actually saw them in. I could have seen them in any order because I did. I like Damien. I saw them all this week. Uh,
Oh,
so The Long Walk is our next film, and I'm not exactly sure that it would be called a horror film, although it has horrifying elements to it. It's got some of the same issues that I think. Well, we briefly mentioned my denial that Jaws is a horror film before. I always think of Jaws as an adventure film that has horror elements in it. To me, this is a dystopian drama that
Yeah,
has
this is a thriller.
horror elements to it because terrible things happen and it is revolting. Uh, but it's a very interesting story, and I'm happy to start off the discussion here. Of the films that we saw, this is the one that I have the most conflicting emotions on because I liked so much of it. And then there were other things about it that just irritated me that I think I'm going to come down on a positive recommendation on this film uh, because it does some interesting things. However, it's basically my dinner with Andre takes a walk after dinner
I'm
because
sorry.
basically the film is 95% conversation. And
Mm.
they're interesting conversations and they're done under interesting circumstances. And the drama comes from the clever way that they talk about those circumstances, and I like that so much, and I like the relationships that are being developed here, and the characters. I thought the actors in the film, by the way, were all really solid.
Outstanding.
Yeah, the kids just did a great job. That kid who plays what's his name? The
You got Peter, you got Ray, you got Stebbins, you got
They're
Hank.
all young men.
Hank,
They're all young
Yeah.
the
men.
kid who played Hank.
Ben Wang.
Yeah, he
Mhm.
was really, really good. The other kids were great too, by the way. And I say kids, I know they're adults.
Yeah,
Everybody's a
they're
kid to
kids
me.
to me too.
But yeah,
No,
the
I mean that's
character
the
of
point
Hank
of it. They're supposed to be young men.
was I thought very efficient, very very well played, and both desperate but also fierce in the way he was going at things. And I really like the conversational aspect of the movie. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Uh, did you guys do the same thing that I think most people do? Imagine yourself trying to walk that far?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
of course.
oh my god.
How far did you get before you
I'm
just
the
said, I'm
first
going to
one
sit
out.
down?
Well, I I'd like to hear from Lisa before I go, if you don't mind. But well, I will say this: I did look at an interview with the actors, and without giving any spoilers away, uh, I guess Stephen King was given just like 100%, which makes sense. I mean, Stephen King for one thing, but he wrote the movie, uh, and he was given like complete control of who would be cast.
I
So
love it.
they had like I guess a screening of something. I don't know what, but they sat Luke Skywalker, right next to him, and I guess Mark Hamill was just freaking out, like, "Oh my god!" He said I was just like, "Yes, hello, sir." He says, but inside I was going, "Oh my fucking god! Oh my fucking," you know what I mean?
Yeah, they both were pretty starstruck with each other.
And he didn't know he had the role yet.
Hmm.
And so Stephen King looks at the producer guy or the director, one of them, and he says, "The general," and points at him. And so Mark Hamill, that's how he found out that he was going to do it.
Oh, that's fun.
And, yeah, it was really fun. And all the guys were just so starstruck with Stephen King when they would ask him questions about it. And I love it because it's not often that you see the actual writer of a story, just being allowed to have that kind of license. But of course, it's Stephen King. Hello, master of horror. But anyway, so yeah, Lisa, would you mind going next? I have some things to say. I just honestly, I'm going by your outline. You got great ideas.
I'm going to have a lot to say though, so I don't know if
Yeah,
you
go
want me
ahead.
to.
I
Okay.
have little to say, so it's good.
So here's where Richard's going to come at me. I have read this before. I am flabbergasted that it took this long to bring this novella to the screen, simply because of exactly what Richard said. It is so simple. It's so easy to do. I don't know how it never got to the screen before. I know there were a bunch of times it ended up in development hell, up and down, who's going to do it, who's not going to do it, who comes out of it, whatever, fine. Despite some changes, they did it right. And I am very, very pleased with this film. The acting is absolutely off the charts. I think Cooper Hoffman is incredible. I love this kid, David Johnson, who I didn't even recognize as the brother from Alien Romulus. And he was the only good thing in that movie. So many of them are just so, so, so good. Mark Hamill plays the major and does that fine. I don't think he did anything exceptional with it because you just basically have to be a bastard and that's it.
90% of his performance were the sunglasses.
Yeah, and I mean that's fine. I mean he fills the role.
He's
but
like
it's
the
not
walking
about him.
boss in Cool Hand Luke,
Right, exactly.
But I did not know that he grew up an army brat. Did you know that? So he
I
grew
did
up
know that.
Yeah, I did not know that. And so he grew up an army brat, and he said that it really wasn't difficult for him to remember some of those guys that were on the bases, that would just sit around talking to his dad. And so he just remembered his childhood basically, and that's how he remembered that kind of a person. So
All
anyway,
right,
sorry,
I stumbled up on Lisa's comments, and I want to get back to her. Sorry, Lisa.
Oh no, you're good. You're absolutely good. I mean, this is what a conversation is. One of the things, and again, this starts getting, I think I'm going to wait until we get to the spoiler tech section to talk about what I was concerned about while I was watching it. But like you said, the casting is so good. The interactions are incredible. You do. You sit and you watch this film, and if it works for you, because I have a feeling there are probably some people for whom it doesn't work because it's just walking. But that's the point. Like, the idea is that this novella is so incredible because you have these kids who all come up with these bonds that are not going to last because there's only going to be one left. And what they did to tweak a few things, in the original novella, it's 100 kids. Here it's 50. Okay, well, that makes more sense. One, it's going to shave some time off. Two, it makes it a little easier to update as far as the dystopian. Could this really happen? I absolutely believe something like this could come about. And that's another thing that makes a
And you believe in
dystopian
ghosts
story.
too.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean,
Be careful, Richard. We're going to make you tell us if you do.
this one is a lot more realistic to me because I know what kinds of people we have in this country. But anyway, these kinds of ideas and these sorts of stories, like this sort of sci-fi dystopia, is always more interesting to me because you look at a Hunger Games, you look at an Allegiant. This is the YA world. You look at The Running Man and Total Recall and Death Race, and okay, sure. But then you look at, Ishiguro's Never Let Me Go, and you look at stuff like this where it's more under the radar sci-fi. And I appreciate that a lot more because it's more about a character study than major events. And it's also heart-wrenching simply because of that. If you don't have the right people playing the roles, the film doesn't work. And they absolutely get the tone right here. They did a very, very good job adapting this film. So I'm absolutely this one far and away. I've been talking about it. I actually was considering whether or not to take my students on a field trip to see it. But I probably will just show it when it's on DVD later. But it's so well done. But like you, Richard, I don't see this as a horror film. This is a thriller.
Yeah. By the way, Lisa, do you have any restrictions on what you can show in your classroom? Because I know that we get the F-bomb 268 times in this film, and that seems, like something that might be an issue with
For
your
me,
class,
not. So one, I'm in New England, southern New England.
as opposed to
So
previously owned England. I got you.
yeah, well, as opposed to northern New England, where they're more of a harsh color. There's elements here where I get away with the language because language is just words, and they're all seniors in my horror class. And I have a sign-off form where I explain
Oh,
to
it's a
people.
horror class.
Yeah,
That makes all the difference right there.
I have a class called Haunted Scenes and Stories that's in its second year.
That is so cool.
Thank you. I think it's only seniors, so I like to tell them that as an English teacher, I like to teach them new vocabulary that they've neither heard nor used in their lives.
Wow.
Because there's no like graphic nudity, and it's not like torture porn kind of horror. It's not super, super, super graphic. I mean, if I can show them Apocalypse Now as an adaptation of Heart of Darkness, I can show this, like I would be okay with this. I think the reason I didn't take them on a field trip is because when am I going to have time to preview that before I could do it? So it's too much of a risk.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm just curious because I know that, and Damien's also an instructor, and I don't know what kind
Yeah.
of limitations he had. Years ago, in my argumentation class, I
It
would
just
like
depends on who complains.
I would like to show the opening scene in the diner of Reservoir Dogs, where they have
Mm,
an argument about tipping. But I had to tell people from the very beginning, I said, there is language in here, there are references in here, there are attitudes in here that could easily be offensive. And if any of you are uncomfortable at all with this, you need to step out because there is
absolutely.
it's pretty damn harsh,
And I'm totally with you on that.
But I was dealing with college students as opposed to high school students. College students are there voluntarily, so
Yeah.
Fair.
so there's a little bit more leeway. But over the years, I got less and less comfortable doing that, and I stopped using it because I just thought, the world has become so
Yeah. No, you're
focused
not
on
wrong.
crap.
there's definitely times when I have to be like, all right, how am I going to do this? But I have a let her go home, and I don't play the CYA game of if you have a problem, return it. It's everybody must return this. So I have a signature from somebody at home that says, yup, I'm okay with my kid watching this. And I understand that because it's a horror, like I said, it's a horror class. Like if you're requesting this class, you need to know that there are going to be some creepy, scary things in here. And yeah, occasionally I'll dip into the rated R movies. It's a lot of good PG-13 that I can do too. But I make it very clear that what I select for narrative value, for context, for does it fit into the scope of what we're doing. You know, I do a lot of study on psychology of fear, and we go into a lot of that sort of stuff too. So, you know, I have a section called "People Are Scary," you know, and it's
People
just
are the worst monsters.
absolutely they are. So, you know, and last year I did show Silence of the Lambs, but I had to block the screen during the sequence when Buffalo Bill is like backing away from the mirror. I did block the screen. I was like, guys, we're not going to do this.
Yeah.
But you know, like that kind of stuff, I'm not going to. And yeah, this is more of a conversation than it needs to be. Forgive me. The answer to your question, Richard, is yes, I have to consider it, and yes, I get signatures, and we manage.
All right.
And I can guarantee you that the ones that are able to sit through that in your class are going to remember it the rest of their lives. So good for you.
So.
I think that's amazing. But it is, you know, Rich is right. You just got, it's like a ballet dance sometimes, right. You know. One thing you can do is make an alternative paper. You know, that's right. All.
And in 2020s, you know, like the kids, they know things.
Yeah. I know.
The language is the least of our worries.
Yeah. The kids nowadays, because I taught fourth grade for over 20 years.
Dear God, no.
Yeah, and you know, these kids back in the 90s even would tell me, you know, hey, I know all about Chucky this, Chucky that, and I think, have you guys seen the Chucky movies? I mean, they're like really violent and intense and sexual, and these little 10-year-olds, oh yeah, my parents let me watch Chucky. Yeah. So it's just kind of a tap
I hate
dance.
The world.
It's a tap dance, you know, Rich. It's a tap dance, but it helps to have that permission slip. That helps.
Lisa, was there something else that you wanted to say, or should we go to Damien on his views on this?
Go to Damien, because my analysis will come up in the spoiler area.
All right. Damien, how about you? You got some early thoughts on The Long Walk?
Yeah, I just think that it's just an incredible film, which as it is, I mean, you could take the walk and do a podcast while you're walking. It's that good. They don't really know that there's, I mean, and Lisa, you can correct me. You've read the book, right?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, because I haven't read the book, but I want to pull a Rich and read the book after the movie because, man, do I ever! I love Stephen King. The first book I read by him was Firestarter, and I've just there have been 2 since then, and I've been okay with the movies, but I mean the book of Firestarter it rocked my world. I think I was 17 when it came out. I was in high school, and I bought it at Walden Books, you know, in the mall. And
I remember Walden Books. I do.
Gives you an idea. And remember Sam Goody Music Land?
Of course.
So the mall was like a dream place.
Left turn here, Damien. Left turn. Get back on the road here.
So here's
You're about to walk off the road, and I don't want to have to shoot you.
But you remember Music Land too, don't you, Rich?
I remember all those places. In Southern California, we had Music Plus and Licorice Pizza were the main places to go. So,
in the bookstore,
you know, there was no licorice pizza in this dystopian world as they're walking down the road. They did finally get some music. What did you think about the music in this?
Really good. I like the music. But the thing about this film is that I can only imagine what the book is like because of Firestarter. Like they'll have charts where the bloody finger will hit the chart in the Firestarter book, and he'll just set it off as a block quote from the page, and the bloody finger hit the chart, and he'll make the sound, the onomatopoeia of the sound of it. You know, and you can't do that in a movie. It's only in a book, and it's the way he does things. It's like a newsreel almost. You know what I mean? And so I'm really looking forward to reading the book because I want to see that kind of stuff that he did in the book that they tried to transfer over. But I think a lot of people will look at it as like the Hunger Games. And let me just tell you guys, it's not, I'm not you two, but everybody listening, it's not the Hunger Games. Okay. It's not the Hunger Games. It's a whole different message. And it's, I think, like one of you guys said, it's more about human behavior really than political. Obviously there's political stuff that really, really is. I think it's good for really young people who don't know what the hell is going on, politically. This would be a good thing for those people that are a little confused because it really shows you, you know, where a lot of the insecurity right now in our times comes from. I think it really can bring some clarity to that. I told my 20-year-old that, and she's going to see it. And then we're going to talk about it. But okay, for one thing, you can't walk 3 miles an hour. I know that. You can't walk 3 miles an hour. It would be like almost a brisk jog, somebody said on an interview. So
Right.
they had to kick that down, to not be 3 miles an hour.
Well, it was 4 in the book, and they kicked it down to 3 for the movie.
Okay.
Because
I
nobody had like
Go ahead.
pedometers and stuff, and like they didn't have a lot of these things when he's writing the book, so he kind of guesstimated it.
Yeah, maybe just without giving any spoilers, I mean, that is kind of relevant because these young men are signing up to just in an IMDb type of just a little synopsis. The young men are signing up, to basically win. There's one winner. They know it going in. And so they're going to be probably walking and probably getting to know people, probably starting out hating everybody. Screw these people. I'm going to win. And they all have their different desires, which we'll talk about more later in the spoiler section. But, like one of them has, a little bit of a vengeance desire, and that kind of changes. And it's just, I think it's just such a great film. I mean, I've seen so many films. All I really do is review horror these days. Every now and then I watched Truman Show the other day with my daughter. It was so great. So I might leave horror a little bit here and there, but I just love horror, mostly what I do. Yeah, I guess that's all I really want to say. I just want people to be excited about this film because it steps outside of all the stuff that I said about The Conjuring. This is not like a filter, of Stephen King. This is like its own thing. But Stephen King is such a master of communication. Amen. and so it's him communicating some of these ideas that, and it's just really, really great film. I'll just leave it there. But yeah, thank you, Rich. I wasn't trying to make this about malls. I was just trying to let people know that when I was 17 years old, if I had, I don't know, books were like $7 or $8 then, I think. So the hard books, So I remember going in there, and money was, I think at that point I mowed lawns. So money was a pretty big deal, but I bought Firestarter because Stephen King was so interesting to me. And then I also liked Misery, about that book. And I read a lot of his books. I read The Stand. I wrote a song about the book The Stand, and there's the band The Alarm has their hit The Stand, and he just wove in and out of my adult life. And just to watch this, you're really getting into the nitty gritty. I haven't read the book, but I think and Lisa can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're getting into the nitty gritty of the book, which sometimes you lose,
Well, it sounds like you guys are both Stephen King fans, and I appreciate that. I got to be honest with you, from a writing point of view, I've read one Stephen King novel,
Only
period.
one.
Only one.
Which one?
The Dead Zone, which
Okay.
which I enjoyed immensely. I really liked it. I thought it was very clever, and the movie made from it was fantastic. I love the Cronenberg film.
It's actually one I haven't read. It's his birthday today too, by the way.
King's
wow.
birthday, yes. So there you go.
We're recording on Stephen King's birthday, but yes.
So happy birthday to the King.
What's up, crazy man? If you're listening, you the
All
man.
Right. We'll come back with spoilery kind of talk about The Long Walk in a few minutes. We have one other film on our list to talk about, and it's the most recent one. It's an original creation. It's not based on a book. It's based on a screenplay that was written several years ago and ended up on the famous blacklist of unproduced screenplays that are supposed to be quite good. And we're going to find out what our lambs thought, whether or not it should have stayed on the list or whether or not it was being produced, it's being produced was worthwhile. And this time I think we'll start with Damien. Damien, some
Yes.
general thoughts about him before we
Oh,
get into the
yeah.
details.
Okay. Really terrible movie. I, I mean, I might as well just stop there. I know, I was asked to come on here because I talk about movies and maybe knowledge of movies or whatever. But honestly, this one, it doesn't even really dignify a whole lot from me. I know that sounds stuck up, but I was really, I mean, mind you, I'd seen these other two, pretty long, pretty intense movies before it, but I checked and I'm not alone. So I just, Jordan Peele, he should have just paid for it and then taken his name off it, honestly, because you know what I mean. It's just, where do you even begin? Like, okay, Any Given Sunday is a great football movie. Can I get an amen from you guys? If you've seen that movie, that is a
Amen.
great movie.
Amen.
That is a great movie.
It's
Okay,
no longest yard, but it's pretty good.
I loved it, and I'm not even into football. I was a runner. I was one of those really skinny, long distance runners in high school. Yeah, I liked how you introduced it with that little tag you put on it, Satanism. That was funny. It's a football movie. It's not Rudy. If you want to see a football movie that I like, go see Rudy. But I don't know. I don't really know what they were
You're
trying
you're
to do.
you're not a fan.
I'm not a fan, and I don't
I
know what they're
gotcha.
trying to do, and that's it. And you know what? That's really all I really want to say. If something else comes up, I'll comment. But I,
Okay.
yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
Lisa, do you want to go next or do you want me to go next? I'm going to let you choose.
Oh, it doesn't matter to me. I'm happy to go next just to do the thing.
Okay. Well, let's hear from you then.
I agree with Damien that if Jordan Peele wanted to help make the movie, fine, but then take your name off it. Because I, like many, I think, thought this was the new Jordan Peele movie, and it wasn't until very recently when I discovered it's not. It's not good. It's very heavy-handed with its metaphors. I don't think there's a single person who has looked at a successful individual in whatever field they're in who has not said, "Oh, they must have made a deal with the devil." Like, okay, fine. It's so heavy-handed and not complex at all. I mean, I think Damon Wayans does a great job. He was very entertaining. Um, the kid Tariq, who's in it with him, is fine. I don't think he's a particular standout in this film. Honestly, I was a big fan of Naomi Grossman playing the crazy fanatic. Um, and it's kind of entertaining because I got to interview her at Massachusetts TerrorCon a couple of weeks ago. And so it was kind of fun just to sit here and watch the film and see her scenes and being like, "Oh, Naomi, you did such a good job, nice work." And obviously, I'm not going to see her again and talk to her, but I kind of wish I would have been like, "Oh my God, you were so good." But
He's not your BFF now.
yeah, I wish. No, I'm not, unfortunately. But I just there's nothing to it. It'd be interesting, honestly, as an intro to film analysis kind of thing. Like this would be the kind of film I would consider, when I'm teaching mise en scène to film students. But I prefer The Fifth Element because it's a far more entertaining film.
I love that.
This one just doesn't land. There's too much. It needed some editing. I don't know. There's nothing new here. I enjoyed watching it. I didn't dislike it, but it's not good, and there's no reason for me to see it again.
Well, I am glad to find that I am not alone in my opinion on this particular film. I'll tell you what, I've fallen into a bad habit in the last year or so of delaying my writing about films till a point when it is convenient for me. It used to be when I saw a film, I would write about it right after I came home. I mean, literally, we would go to a film that was running at 10 o'clock at night and it would be finished at midnight. We'd get home and I wouldn't go to bed until I'd written about it.
Sure.
And I've fallen out of that habit in the last year or two because let's face it, I'm moving on in years, and sometimes it's just is too hard to put in that energy. I got to wait until I've got the energy and the motivation to write about it. However, when I came home from this movie yesterday, I immediately wanted to write about it because I disliked it so much. It's one of those things that provoked me, and I thought, I'll I've got to respond to the provocation here. This is a movie made for people who hate the idea of football, who don't understand what the concept is about. I have a friend, a colleague that I worked with for a number of years, who loathes football. And Damien,
Yeah,
he was a track
I don't
guy.
loathe
That
it.
that's yeah, no, but
Yeah,
I'm telling you, this guy was a track guy.
yeah.
He's constantly posting results from cross country
Oh
events,
yeah,
from track events, sharing these
right.
things and constantly belittling and criticize. Look, football deserves a lot of criticism, but this movie ignores all of the things about football that make it interesting and focuses on only those things about it that make it problematic. And I understand that there's a point of view here, but it's a such a distorted point of view. It just pissed me off. And I said, this is somebody's fever dream of what
Yeah.
football
Oh,
is,
oh my God,
and they're
great,
living it
great
out in
concept.
front of
Fever
us.
dream. I love that. You're right. Fever dream.
And
That should be the title.
it's nearly incoherent. You know,
Yeah.
I I'm watching this going, okay, I kind of get where this is going. I
Yeah.
think there's something here, and there isn't. It just, well,
Yeah.
like a lot of horror films, it doesn't nail the ending. Not only does it not nail the ending, it's got an ending that is completely detached from everything that's happened in the movie before. It's
Yeah.
like, what the hell? Uh, I guess somewhere they said, oh, well, if it's a horror film, we have to have some violence in it that is disturbing. So let's save that for the last 5 minutes of the movie. And I'm going, no, that doesn't work. This doesn't work. I don't know what the hell you were thinking. You are not saving your movie here. And there's a lot of stuff in the movie that I think is well done. I think Marlon Wayans is excellent. The Tyreek, what's his last name? Withers.
Withers, yeah.
I thought he was fine. I thought he was pretty good too. The production design on this movie is really solid. I like the way it looks for
Yes.
90% of the film, but the story is just irritating to me.
Atrocious.
And it's at the end, I just wanted to. Well, I'm previewing my end of the year uh, list of worst films. I'm going, well, this is definitely going to be on the list, and there's a good chance it's going to be at the top because this was just terrible.
Hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And it's just they didn't. I don't know what they were trying to do. Honestly, I guess just put out another film. I
Uh,
mean,
I had I had hopes. Look, I don't know if it's spoilery. Damien's
yeah.
already kind of
Yeah. I'll be
suggested.
the one. I'll be the
No,
bad
no, 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 no,
person.
no, 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 no. Hang on. You suggested that there was, an attack that takes place that creates a medical problem for our main character. And
Yeah.
I thought that it was the cult of
Yeah.
fans that was the interesting idea here. And that goes
Yeah.
nowhere.
No, they never really. Yeah.
They have a couple of follow-up scenes, but they, you have no idea how any of that happens, why any of
Right.
it happens, where it came from, how over the top these people got. That would have been the more intriguing movie as opposed to, you know, the white guys are exploiting the black guys and they're a bunch of Satanists. I'm sorry, I just stepped in it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I like stuff that brings out, not like accuses and assigns. And this one kind of accuses and assigns things to groups, and it would have been better if they just let us make up our own mind and, like you said, tell the damn story. Okay, so what happened here? Instead of, I don't know, they just try and make it maybe too mysterious. That might have been what they did wrong. They tried to make
All
it
right.
so mysterious, and there's really no payoff for
Well,
that.
let's plug in the spoilery section right here so we can start with the spoilers on him, which I've already
Yeah,
kind of crossed the line on. I'll tr
yeah,
I'll try on the
the
visual
long walk.
podcast, the imagery podcast to put the warning in a little bit earlier so that people can see it. And when I edit it, I'll try and give people a warning that I broke protocol on this.
Nah, it's fine. There's not much else to say about this movie.
It's just, I thought that the idea that look, the sacrifice, it was creepy, some of the things that they're doing in the first part of the film. We're going to recondition this guy. That's basically what the movie turns into be. It's a
Mhm.
rehab, it's an extensive rehab, but it's a rehab that has elements to it that seem particularly unpleasant, ominous, threatening. And I was going along with those for a while until we get to, the part where it's really just it's, look, the guy they cast as the owner of the team, I'm sure that he's played the devil in some damn movie somewhere,
That's good.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't even think to look that up. I'm going to do that right now.
because he just has that look about him. He's skeletal in nature with the deep set eyes, and I'm sure they added some makeup to make the additional impression. But Jiminy Crickets, if he didn't appear in an episode of Supernatural somewhere as a demon, I
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Somebody missed him in the casting process because that's exactly what he looks like, one of those characters.
Yeah.
So there's nothing subtle about it, and
Yeah,
I thought
he's
I thought
played a priest in quite a few,
there you are.
quite a few things. That's amazing.
Well, the thing about the movie, like I said, the training sequences that they're doing is a way to motivate Cam and to get him going. I thought that's an interesting concept. It's pretty vicious and violent, and if it came from a cult-like desire to succeed, that's one thing. But the supernatural element that they add to it just feels really
Stupid.
artificial.
Yep, it's just stupid. Like, and again, like it's
We
just
got a summary. There's a summary. It's
yeah. I
just
mean, the
stupid.
bottom line is like this idea of who hasn't made a side comment about Tom Brady? Like, oh, he must have sold his soul to the devil. Who hasn't made a side comment about somebody like Tom Cruise? Like, oh, he must have sold his soul to the devil. Like, it's such a common thing to then say like, oh, well, one goat, of course, a goat. We're going to take the very, very low level symbolism here of, the devil as goat. And we're going to say, well, you know how you become the goat. I mean, come on. It's such, I'm going to make an illusion myself now, Damien. It's such low hanging fruit.
Thank
Like
you.
this,
God
it's
bless
just
you.
one after the other after the other. It's just too heavy handed. I mean, like I said, even, middle school students learning what symbolism and illusion are would be bored by this. It's just, it's not
Sign the
sophisticated.
contract, take a bite of the apple.
I mean, seriously, like
Mm.
it's not sophisticated. It's not slick. I agree with you, Richard, that it does look great. And I'll tell you, if it weren't for Marlon Wayans, I probably would have been just tortured through the whole thing. Because he is dynamic. He is really interesting to watch in this. I do like his character. I love his refrain of "I'm going to go watch some tape," and the tape is literally him looking up at people cheering for him. Like that's the tape. I mean, okay, great. I get it. Like this is a drug. He's got the IV bag with the blood. Okay. Nothing in here is just well done. It's all very basic. It's all very, again, the low hanging fruit. I'm struggling for words because I can't find anything really redeeming to talk about it, which is a shame because clearly we've got some quality actors here who were given some absolute drivel to work with. And, Jordan Peele probably knows somebody here and goes, hey, you know what? I'll help you out. I'll get this movie made. But now people who, like me, didn't realize that it wasn't a Jordan Peele film, now are like, oh, Jordan Peele finally has his first failure. Well, it's not even his movie.
Yeah.
It's like this is what it comes because it's not a Jordan Peele movie. Jordan Peele knows how to write quality stories, and doesn't have characters who make completely stupid decisions. Even though they're in bad situations, they don't make stupid decisions. His third film, Nope, is all about how characters are like, no, I'm not going to make that decision, as a matter of fact. Like, that's the best part about them, the tongue-in-cheek cleverness of it. There's none of
And
that here.
at least have like, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful.
No, you're
'Cause
good.
there's
I'm
a
done.
lady- But no. I just mean from what I'm about to say. At least have some big boobs or something. You know what I mean? I just felt like I was just kind of like, what the hell is this movie? There a couple times, and then I wanted like, I mean, this is also no offense to Marlon Wayans because I agree with you. He's really engaging, but I kept wanting like something from Scary Movie to happen. I don't know. I just needed something like just stupid and horror. It just, I don't know. Like I said, I had two movies, these two really intense movies that were before that in 2 days. So it might be a little of that, but I did check it out and I looked around at a couple of people what they're saying about it, and yeah, you're not alone. I mean, the stuff you're
Well,
saying
I
is pretty
mentioned it.
common.
I mentioned it in my review, and I've liked most Jordan Peele films, but there was one that I didn't like. I laughed at because I thought it was so stupid, and this
Yeah.
movie reminded me of that. And it was like we got to the end, and he walks out into that courtyard, and I'm just going, "You are freaking kidding me!" And I literally chuckled. I chuckled under my breath because there were people around who were in the theater with me, and I didn't want to be too distracting. But I just thought, "You've got to be kidding me!" This is the stupidest looking thing in the world, and there's no explanation for how it works or functions. It's it's just this nightmare vision that the writers of this film have of what the economics of football are. And, look, I met a four, but I married a 10.
Bum,
I,
bum.
and I think this movie is pretending to be something that it isn't.
Yeah. I mean, that ending was very unsatisfying for a number of reasons, but frankly, I would have liked to have seen him sign the thing. Like when he like went all redemptive and I'm not
That
gonna
would
do
be a
this.
lot scarier.
I would have been so much more interested. It still would have sucked, but
Yeah.
it still would have been like, all right, at least this is interesting. I mean, he's there in the white pants. Of course he is. He's got his arms outstretched. Of course he does. Like it's just it's terrible. It's too much. It's too much because none of it is slick. None of it is sophisticated at all.
All right. We've
Hey,
crapped on
hey,
him enough, I think.
can I just
Let's.
ask you? Can I just ask? Actually, both of you, just a quick question. What did you get it? Did you pick anything up off the audience? Like, was anybody acting a certain way, or like, do you think it was like your same feelings? And sometimes sometimes you don't. But like, what was the crowd like?
I don't see films with a bunch of people. I see them like right after school on a Friday. So there
Oh,
were
gotcha.
only maybe five of us in the theater anyway, and two guys wouldn't shut up through the whole thing. So
Oh, that's annoying.
I'm gonna assume they were distracted, but I don't know what anybody else thought of it.
Yeah, I have no idea
Okay.
what the audience that I saw it with thought of it. There were maybe a half dozen people in the theater, and
Yeah, me too. There's like
they they
two
they
people.
they just got up and left when the credits started. And I always sit
Right.
through the credits. And not because I'm waiting for a post-credit scene. I've always sat through the credits. It's one of those things that I just got conditioned to do years ago. People who made the movie deserve to have their names on the screen, and I'm going to watch and acknowledge
Hmm.
them for a moment. And besides, there's usually music playing, and I want to sit and think a little bit about the film. So I'm not in a rush most of the time to get the hell out of there. It's not like, oh, we're up 3 runs in the eighth inning, so I'm just going to leave early so I can get to my car and check out. I want to finish the story. I want to finish the experience. So, but I had no idea
Yeah.
what other people were feeling about the movie. Uh, The Conjuring, on the other hand, I did know that people appreciated it because they seemed enthusiastic when they were leaving. I even got a couple
Mm,
people who applauded.
Oh
Uh,
God.
yeah.
Okay.
And they
they
went
were
in their car and
they
put
were
on
they were.
Guns N'
I mean,
Roses.
it wasn't a loud applause,
Yeah.
but there are a couple people who just you gave it a couple of claps and said, "All right, let's move on with our lives."
Yeah, that's not a film that requires applause, thankfully.
No,
But okay,
but they're just expressing their
sure. They
satisfaction in the
enjoyed it.
film.
I'm glad somebody did.
Yeah. And since we're talking about The Conjuring, let's get to the spoilers on that. Uh, were there things that we avoided earlier that you wanted to talk about now?
Yes, please. You
Yes,
have
there you
a
go.
Yeah.
girl who vomits blood into the sink. She is vomiting blood and pieces of glass. And
Right.
it's incredibly upsetting. And it's really an incredible scene. It's very, very well done. And they're like, we need to go. We need to get her to the hospital. And the scene changes, and you're seeing something about the Warrens. And then they go back to the Smurls, and nothing. It's like it didn't happen. Nobody has ever said,
Just a
like
couple of Tums solved that problem.
oh my God, like nothing. And even later on, when like the Warrens come and Ed and Lorraine just want to take Judy and go home, and everybody's kind of skeptical, nobody goes, I don't remember the girl's name. So and so is vomiting blood and glass into the sink. You don't think this is a problem? Nobody even brought it up. And I'm like, what is even happening here? Like, you've got this demon, this entity, this something in the house that supposedly is taking on the forms of farmers who lived there years and years and years and years ago. And that was the lure, like this old woman who's playing with this little dolly, and freaking people out and making the husband levitate out of the bed, and then like, putting her face through the slats of the headboard, which is actually a really good jump scare, by the way. That was the jump scare that worked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course, it's in the trailer, which I found out after the fact. But I jumped because I was like, oh, I did not expect her to be like right there. So that was a really good point. That and the vomiting into the sink were just absolutely stellar. And the scene you're talking about with the phone cord being pulled into the pantry, like that stuff is fun. That's what you want out of a film like this. You want a film that when you see darkness, you start getting tense because something is lurking and you're waiting for it to come out.
You're looking into the shadows for whatever is coming next. Yes.
Right. Like I've started getting the caption machine. And I got that because I usually have captions on anyway. I don't have any kind of problem with my hearing, but I always joke that I use the captions on so you can hear what the ghosts are saying. It came in handy for this movie. There was some whispering and stuff that I wanted to make sure I understood what was said. So it works. It's fun and all, but throwing the dog against the wall. I had a former student who reached out to me and she was laughing. She's like, oh, you're dealing with bad dudes if the dog is dead. And I was like, well, the dog didn't die. But that's one of my rules. Like I tell them in horror movies, you're dealing with a bad dude if the dog dies. And so it's like, well, the dog got thrown against the wall. Well, therefore, it's bad. And it's like this mirror is dragging people down the hall. And it's not the people that they're pretending to be. It's actually this demon that's looking for Lorraine, but also wants her daughter because Annabelle has been obsessed with her daughter since she was a 6-year-old. Like, come the hell on. It was just the ending of The Conjuring had its big kaboom. I was kind of falling asleep in the chair. One, because it was the end of one of my first full school weeks, and two, because it was just everything. It was like spaghetti against the wall. I liked the ending. I liked the very ending with the wedding, right? Where Judy's wedding is happening, and you have all these lovely little Easter eggs with, you have a couple of Perrin family people there, and you have a couple of, the Hodgsons are there, and you can spot James Wan in the congregation, and whoever the kid was from the third film. I was like, oh, that must be him, because I couldn't remember because I can't remember the movie. That was all very cute, and I liked the whole flash forward of here's what our life is going to be. I thought all of that was lovely and schmaltzy. So Richard, when you were saying in the beginning, do you actually believe this will be the last one? I think I do, because I think that Vera Farmiga and what the hell is his name?
Patrick Wilson.
Wilson, thank you. I think they're done. I think they're like, okay, we've given you guys a lot of our time.
You
now
think
time
Judy
for
and
us.
Tony are going to take over the family business?
They didn't, so I don't know.
What happens in real life doesn't necessarily matter if you're talking about making a movie. If
Oh, God
Conjuring
help
5
me.
is showing up, and you're trying to play off of the success of the previous film,
I
that's
don't think
right
this
there.
film is going to be considered too successful, though, because it's kind of floundering. It's not like it's
Oh,
not
is it?
weapons.
No. This film was the highest grossing of the entire Conjuring series on its
Oh,
opening
no
weekend.
way.
Everything, yeah, but Richard, that
And yes, I know, but it's done very well internationally. It's not, they've made like $387 million around the world. That's money on
And
the
that was
table. And
It
they
over
didn't.
is.
the
They
top.
didn't. And they didn't spend. I don't. This is not a $200 million movie that they've paid for. This
Right.
is this is something that's probably in the mid range. I don't know how much they spent on it. I haven't. I
Gotta
didn't
be
look
a
that up.
hundred. I bet it's 100 or more. But uh, it's something that they did in a house. They didn't need a whole lot of on location stuff. And like you said, there is a good jump scare, but there's only like 3 or 4 jump scares, and they're not. It's not amazing effects. So you're right. They probably are doing well
Well,
with it.
I just don't know that the Nun or the Annabelle movies are going to be satisfying to the box office the same way that this has been. And
Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, it would be a shame because they're at the point where they're running it into the ground.
right.
Um, so I don't know. I mean, I guess they certainly could. I don't think Wilson and Farmiga are coming back
No,
though. I
no,
think they're
I
done.
think they're
And
done.
James Wan is very clearly done. I mean, talk about a man who knows how to make franchises. But
What are
I
we on
think
Saw 13 now?
well, I mean, he's not involved in all of those. Like
Right,
he
right.
did the first two, which are exceptional.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. But
By the
that
way, I
and
checked the
Insidious.
budget. $55 million is the estimated
Oh,
budget.
Yeah.
good. Okay, so they've already broke even. They're doing fine. Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
good.
but when it comes to horror films, we're all weirdos. We show up on the opening weekend. So for
Yeah.
me, you can't judge the quality of a horror movie based on its opening weekend. You got
I
to
don't
look at
think
its
you can judge
staying
the
power.
quality of a movie by its box office because Him has made money and Spinal Tap
Exactly.
2 is not.
Right, which is unfortunate because I Spinal Tap was far more enjoyable than him was.
Much more
Um,
entertaining.
So, but yeah, I don't know. You're right. They absolutely could continue running this into the ground. Um, Personally, I hope they don't because I think they did a good enough job wrapping it up here. But who knows? There's plenty of more stories to make up.
All right, well, let's take the next path and go on the long walk. I know that there were things. Oh, well, Damien, was there any last minute thing that you wanted to talk about on The Conjuring? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I did like what you guys both intimated about how those two lead actors are kind of done. I'm
Yeah.
just curious why you thought that or why you said that.
Well, I mean, they both are talented in their own rights and have quite a list of credits on their own.
Yeah.
Vera Farmiga also has a pretty, well, I wouldn't say successful, but she's doing pretty well. She's the lead singer of like a metal band. And so she probably wants to investigate that a little bit.
Are
Um,
you serious? I didn't
oh,
know
yeah.
that.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, Patrick Wilson has done a number of different things too. So, I mean, they're probably just looking to try new projects, because it's going to get old playing the same character over and over and over and over and over and nothing else. So,
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, with CGI, I mean, they could go on till they're 90. You know what I mean? So, or AI, I should say.
All
But
right.
yeah, but I don't. I hope they're done. Put it that
Well,
way. Yeah.
let's go to the long walk and talk
Okay.
about the things that you wanted to talk about before. Uh,
Okay.
Damien, did you
Yeah.
have things that you didn't get a chance to talk about, but or they're spoilery and that's why you waited?
Well, I do want to let everybody know because I know the Lambcast is not a horror based. It does have a horror wing to it, but this is an extremely violent movie. Everybody should know that. I mean, it's. I mean, Rich, you were saying earlier that you thought it's not really horror; it's more adventure. Or no, you didn't say adventure, but what did
It's
you
a,
say?
it's a dystopian drama.
There you go. There you go. But make no mistake.
It
I
is
mean, you,
gruesome, yeah.
yeah, like my poor mother, she would not be able to sit through 5 minutes of it. Speaking of that, I really liked the beginning. It was like what, like 20 minutes before they showed
Yeah.
the title,
mhm.
and at that point, you don't even want to go to the bathroom. You know what I mean? You're just like, I'm
Well,
sitting right
apparently,
here.
if I had to go to the bathroom, I'd be doing it in the middle of the road. Talk about horrifying.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was unsettling.
So that makes it a horror film right there.
well,
Well,
you
I mean,
just
that's the
defined
kind of
why
thing you
everybody.
just know that's coming for somebody that was going to like happen, and that's
Yeah.
just, that's one of
Yeah,
those things that was definitely upsetting for me.
can we say that? What happened? Yeah, the guy just drops his pants halfway down and then shot in the head. I
Yeah,
mean,
well, he
it's
has to.
stuff like that. You guys just know going into it. It's And at first I thought, oh, this is going to be, because somebody had told me that it was really violent. And I'm not, I'm like, do like body horror. You know, I love Martyrs, the movie Martyrs. I like violent stuff when it has like kind of a creepy feel to it. But I was a little bit worried that they were going to be pushing the envelope for the 20 somethings that are used to all kinds of weird violence or something. It's my old man voice came out, but I really think it works. I think they need to do that. Just think if you knew that you were going to be walking the rest of your life, literally. I mean, you're gonna be on this walk the rest of your life, whether that's an hour, or whether it's 23 days, or you know what I mean. You know that going into it, and it really makes sense that they got the young men because I remember when I was at the junior college back when I was, I guess I was 19 or 20 when I started at Saddleback College there in Mission Viejo. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I'd see flyers up on the kiosk that said, go to Alaska and earn $5,000 in one summer on a fishing boat. I mean, I was like considering stuff like that. I was like, that sounds cool. I was doing a lot of rock music at that time, in which I bailed on and had a life raising kids and teaching, which I'm really glad I did it. But, I didn't know what the hell I was doing at that time. And so I think of people in that same age bracket who are looking at the government now and looking at just things that are going on, a lot of censorship. I'm not going to get into detail, but you know what I mean? It's like, I think it's really important movie for these young people, especially young men.
All right. Lisa, you had some spoilery stuff that you wanted to talk about rather
I
than just
do. Um, so I don't know how, see, because it goes against my brain, because my brain wants people to read the book because the book is so wonderful. I will tell you that the ending is different, and I will tell you a different person won.
Yep.
It's interesting to me. So the thing that I was uncomfortable with watching this is what's considered the magical Negro trope. This idea that, for decades, if there was like a main Black character, that character served only to elevate and help the main white character become a better person. And I was seeing a lot of that with Peter and Ray Garrity. And I was just like, because Stephen King is guilty of it. He does it. It's the Shawshank Redemption, like these characters, which is interesting because in the Shawshank Redemption, red is not black. Which sounded like a really weird sentence just then. But
no,
the
I
character
understand.
of, you know what I mean? Like,
Was
and
Peter Black in the novel?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But
Um,
I've only heard people talk about the novel. I haven't read it.
yeah, I
But,
don't remember him. I think he was just low social economic class, that sort of stuff. So when I saw the casting of David Johnson and how great a character he was in the beginning, knowing where the ending in the book went, I went, oh shit, here. Oh, sorry, Richard. Knowing where
Okay.
the ending goes, I was like, oh great, like they're gonna do this thing, and in 2026 we can't get rid of this trope. Um, and the fact that Peter wins, I found very satisfying. I found
oh,
really
good.
good.
Okay.
I was happy with the change. They did change a little bit of who died how, but that's irrelevant. That's not major. But I did.
Yes, it is. That's who died.
What do you mean? Oh, yes.
You said
Sorry.
it's not major.
Um,
I'm sorry.
well,
Oh,
I
even
gotta I
that,
gotta jump on those bad jokes when
that's
they're
called
sitting right there.
that's called a multiple meaning word.
by all means. I mean, even that's an addition to that whole thing where Garrity has this revenge,
Motive, yeah.
motive. That's not in the book. But I mean, it added something definitely to this character that Mark Hamill is playing and what's driving Garrity to keep going and that sort of stuff. And I did like that element. I liked his father's character, what little he was on screen with. And I really enjoyed that. But I'll tell you, David Johnson, give this kid more roles. Give him all of the roles, because he's exceptional. And Hoffman, I mean, I miss Philip Seymour Hoffman desperately. He's somebody that, like, every other day I go, damn it, I wish I could get more from him. So it's kind of cool to see his son play a role
I had
in
no
this.
clue.
Yeah, that's his son.
This is the very first time I've heard that. I didn't realize it. at all.
Yep. And I like, you get that thing a little bit with the torch passing. I mean, talking about The Conjuring potentially
Yep.
moving on. He doesn't have a lot of credits. He was in the Saturday Night Live movie. But I think this will be the one where people now sit up and take notice. He's got a couple movies on the slate coming out. I don't think he's got his father's talent, but he does have his father's draw. Like you want Garrity to do well. You are charmed by him. And so I do think that is good. And I'm just very happy that the decision to cast David Johnson did not turn into another magical Negro trope. Because one, all of these actors deserve more than that crap anyway. But two, like Peter is such a well fleshed out character in this, because in the book, you're only in Garrity's head. So when you come out to a film and you've now opened up more of your narrative and more of your perspective where you can jump from one boy to the next. I mean, when Art, like Art and Hank, I absolutely had tears. I absolutely cried. And it takes a lot for me to cry in a film. Like I'll get like a little smushy on some scenes if you get the right music swell and stuff. But these two characters and the bonds that they had put between each other and just the guilt they felt because they kept walking where a friend needed them or wanted them to stop, or they knew they could, all of that. That's what I think this film did exceptionally well. It put you in that moment of, it's no longer about could I keep walking physically. It was about, what do you do when your closest, your brother, they're brothers, these boys, these men. What do you do when your brother starts failing and it's his time and you have to get that survivor's guilt, all of it. Exceptionally well done in this. So I think that from Stephen King's novel translates. Stephen King gets this reputation, or he is this king of horror. Great. And people watch some of the films. Like I remember my students complaining, if you give me a quick tangent, about like, oh, it really isn't that scary. I'm like, it's not meant to be. It's Stephen King excels in, here are people dealing with horrifying things. I'm focused on the people. It's all about Stephen King's characters and these scary things that happen to them. It's not necessarily about the scary things themselves. And so films like this really show his ability to develop cool characters.
Good. And it's not Stand By Me, but it pulls on that kind of heartstring. And those two actors that you mentioned, so agree with you. So backing you on that. What a friendship. And did it talk in the book about the no help pact? Did that come up in the book?
I don't remember.
I heard somebody talking about it, about how at the beginning they make a really big deal about the no help pact.
Yeah, they can't help each other. If that comes up, that's a detail. It's been a while since I've read it, so I don't know the extent to how much it came up.
Well, in the story here, it didn't come up until close to the end.
Right.
After they'd already helped each other a couple of times.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I heard one of the people that I listened to having a comment about it was saying that, that they just realized that was, I mean, almost like, what do you want? Like one of you said it. Do you want to survive this and win, whatever win means? But you have to live with that horror in your mind, like not in a good way. Like I like horror, yay, but not that kind of horror. It's multiple meaning word. Like you got to live with that horror of seeing your friend, right next to you. Just, anyway. Yeah. So there's a lot of spoilers we just shared. I love it. But it's so good. And please see this out there. It's really good. I mean, you won't regret it. A lot of people think, another Stephen King movie and stuff. But like, if you like Stand By Me, it's not Stand By Me by any means, but it's
Stand By the Hunger Games.
Yeah, but it's
not Hunger Games. It's directed by a guy who did some Hunger Games movies, but
okay, Stand By the Purge.
Well, stand by Battle Royale. I mean, like everybody can go. The Hunger Games wasn't first. Battle Royale was around.
But it's all about this dystopian world where the government creates this diversion that is supposed to create a perspective on the world that empowers them instead and kind of destroys the will of everybody else.
And don't
Empowers
forget,
who?
it helps the economy too. They mentioned that it
Yeah.
helps the economy to see all the. And remember at the end when
Death
they're all
Race
cheering?
2000, it's the
Yeah,
same.
it's that
Yeah.
same concept.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an incredible book called Chain Gang All Stars, and it's about prisoners on death row who are put into this kind of situation where it's like, okay, it's a whole league. Various prisons are now privately owned, and all of these death row inmates, if you sign on to do this, you are one of two people who enter an arena and one of you leaves. And the person who leaves, if you continue to win after a certain number of matches, they will give you your freedom. But they're basically taking prisoners. I mean, it's the Running Man, it's Death
Yeah.
Race, it's all of these things, these ideas of we are a society. I mean, I'm one of them who use horror, thrillers, psychological torment, dark situations, true crime as entertainment. And there's this element that yeah, we are absolutely the purge. I 100% believe the purge could happen because there are enough people out there that say, just give me a chance. You're going to take this law from me. That's the scariest thing in the world to me. The beginning of the purge is some of the most uncomfortable I've ever been in the theater because I believe that sort of stuff would happen because there are people who would jump at that chance. So yeah, something simple like this. Yeah, I do see this as this is dark psychology. This is who we are, and this is who we're becoming. And I think that's important to note, like just as any satire pokes at the way things are, I think psychological thrillers can do that too.
All right. Well, we've had plenty of psychological thrills here in the last hour and 40 minutes. So I don't
I
want to.
hope so.
Yeah, no, we've been going for quite a while. I want to make sure that we have time for our exit question and we leave on a good note. So, just any final thoughts that you have on any of the three films before we close out, Damien? I'm going to put a timer on you for 2 minutes. You
Thank
can
you, man.
go on these things for 2 minutes, and then after
I
that, you
know.
gotta eat some of those cupcakes.
I love it. I love. Yeah, it's just. I mean, I've said. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on and talk about it because I really want to promote this movie. I think this is definitely one that. Yeah, you're gonna offend people. I think with this film, with certain people, if you drag them to see it because it's not for everybody. But if you want to see really what uh displeasing images can be, actually kind of like awaken you a little bit to things. And I think there is an element of horror that is starting to do that. Like there's a little wing of horror that's, of course, Get Out. Speaking of Jordan Peele, that was, definitely had a bigger message. And it was a good movie. It's like a Twilight Zone. I thought it was like a Twilight Zone, but they really got into the racial inequality and all that stuff, and it was great. And I love that movie. Whereas the football movie, they didn't really. We touched on that, but this one, if you can set aside your displeasure of, some of the horror, some of the horror that you experience watching it, but look at it from the bigger picture. Like, what if this was my friend? I think it could really be an awakening type of movie for people like in their 20s. I really do. Because even if you win, look what you have to live with. You know what I mean? And we don't think of that. We just look at the sound bites on the news and we go, yeah, my team won. I mean, literally, that's how I talk to some of I won't even call them friends, but just people up here that think so differently from me. Like when we talk, they're like, yeah, how'd you like that? We got you. And I think if you go into this movie thinking about like kind of the world today, but really he wrote it. Lisa, when did he write it? Like years? He wrote it like 10 years ago, didn't he?
What, The Long Walk?
Yeah.
No,
This
that's
is
like 80s.
70s.
That's Bachman books. That's late 70s, early 80s.
Oh, you got to be kidding. Well, makes my point even more. So it's about human nature. It's more about like the eternal things about being a human being. Like my son, I'm so happy. Thank you for congratulating me on the other episode. He's going to have a little boy named Mateo. Can't wait. Mateo Riley's coming to us in December.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. But I want Mateo to watch this when he's old enough, because I think it shows that, winning has a cost, and maybe we need to change the Robin Hood, arrow, what we're aiming at. Maybe we need to change it more to the friend, than the winning. That's all I have to say.
All right, that worked out well. Lisa, final thoughts on all three films?
I think I've ranted enough. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of The Long Walk. Definitely think that's something everyone should see. The Conjuring is fun. It's entertaining. It's worth seeing if you like the films. Him, I mean, watch it on streaming just because you're morbidly interested in what it was, but it's not something worth seeing in the theater.
Yeah, and I'm going to be even shorter on this. I'll say everything that Lisa said except the last part. Don't bother watching him. It's stupid.
Yeah.
All right,
right. I agree.
We're going to take a quick break here to hear from a fellow Lamb Podcasting Network show, and then we'll be back with our exit question in just a second.
Mark!
Heather!
We need to tell people why they should listen to our show, Word of Hellmouth, in 45 seconds.
All right. For one, you and I are hardcore fans of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We know what we're talking about.
Anything else?
We are fun to listen to, and our off-topic conversations are legend.
Any other reason Scoobs out there should check us out, Mark?
Simply put, Heather, you and I are 5 by 5.
Oh, yeah!
Where can people find us, Heather?
You can find Word of Hellmouth anywhere you get your podcasts. Our home website at rabbitholepodcast.com, or just hanging out at the Bronze.
And David Boreanaz, if you're listening, hit me up.
Me too. I don't care.
Well, we had an extensive discussion about these three films that are basically horror films, although there's a little bit of a question about whether The Long Walk fits into that category. The exit question, however, this week doesn't have that kind of dubiousness about it because it asks explicitly about horror films. I know that Lisa and Damien are big horror fans. They come from different eras than I do. I hope that I haven't gone too far back in time for this question. The question is, what's your favorite 80s horror film? And is there a recent film that you think you could match it with for a double feature, and why? So, Damien, I know that you are deep into the horror. So you got an 80s horror film that you really love and something that's more recent that you could pair it with.
Yeah. I think for the 80s, there's just so many great ones. John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness is one that I've had a renewed love for. And I watched it recently. And I actually did two. My podcasts are about 30 minutes, and I just talked, and I did two on that one because it just talk about creepy. You remember that one with Sam Neill?
Yes.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's just not from the 80s.
I was just going to say, isn't that a little bit later?
Nope.
That's a 90s film.
95, I think.
I don't believe in time, so I'm really bad on questions like
1994. That one's 94.
I think the pterodactyls and the brontosauruses, they were in the present moment, and now I'm in the present moment. There's no real time. Timelines are something we made up as humanity, but that's a whole different podcast. But what I will tell you is that is an amazing film, and I really like it. And it just, the music of John Carpenter is so good. That song is so good. I blasted in my car, and it leaves you with a creepy feeling. So, I mean, any movie nowadays that does that, probably the best one that I could come up with, even though it's not like really related to it as far as concept, it does have a ghost, is Insidious. I think Insidious it has that same sort of in the belly of your stomach, you just, oh, this is so good. I get that same feeling as In the Mouth of Madness. So those are the two I kind of penciled out, but there's so many. Anything that's creepy over, just straight gore is what I prefer. I like the creepy stuff. Some gore, like I said, is good. Like Martyrs, that's totally gory, but I love it. It's very creepy. But I tend toward the creepy. And so, yeah, so those two.
Lisa, how about you? You got an 80s film that you can dig on, and then a more recent film that you think would make a good pairing for a late night double feature?
I did because I put way too much thought into this. So I actually have two pairings because I can't help myself, and you're
That's
used to
okay.
me.
I'm doing the same thing.
You're used to me.
Hey, no fair. Can I go again? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
I wouldn't say like, because you start off with saying like your favorite 80s, and I don't necessarily say that that's what these are. I actually was kind of like, what have I loved recently that I want to pair with something from back in the 80s? So one of my pairings is the original Pet Cemetery 1989, which I do adore, because
Oh, heck yeah.
I mean, you want to take a creepy child, a creepy little blonde child, and pair that one with Ouija Origin of Evil with Lulu Wilson
I
as the
love that
creepy
movie.
blonde
I love
child.
that movie.
So it's not about, the animals or this or that. It is a supernatural element. It is messing with stuff you shouldn't mess with. And it's a creepy blonde child at the center of it. So that's my first double feature. My second one, it's funny because I thought Damien was going to snipe my movie, and it was really entertaining. I was like, all right, I thought
love
I
the
went.
Sniper movie.
Well, because you started talking about John Carpenter in the 80s, I went with Prince of Darkness, 1987.
Yeah.
And the idea that they found this sludge, this stuff that's, essentially the devil, and it comes up, and they, by basically messing with it and trying to control it and trying to work with it, they basically wreaked havoc on their own lives. I'm going to pair that with what I believe is the best horror movie of the 21st century, 2018's Hereditary, where they also are calling a demon from hell, one of the kings or one of the princes from hell, and saying, we're going to have you do this. And of course, that goes very, very badly for all of them. So those are my two pairings.
Yeah, that's
Fair
a great
enough.
film too.
All right. Well, when I looked at the question that I wrote, I said your favorite 80s horror film. I said, well, I have two films from the 80s that I love that are both horror films, and it's very difficult for me to say one over the other. So that's why I ended up with two combinations here, because it's hard for me to say, you know, I can't put The Thing second to anything else. John
Mm-hmm.
Carpenter's The Thing. It's got to be at the top of the list.
I love that all three of us went Carpenter.
You know, so yeah, well, if you're talking about 80s horror, that's kind of where you've got to go. And
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
so, and everybody knows why The Thing is so great. The
Yeah.
practical effects, the insane sense that you can't trust who's around you and what's going on there. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I would pair it with Overlord from a few years ago, which
Mm,
is a
nice
zombie
choice.
kind of movie set in World War
Damn.
II, where
Damn. Yeah.
you know basically people that you were parachuting into Europe with become zombies, and then and they're fighting Nazis, but they're also eating you. So it's
Yeah.
it's going the wrong way both ways, and so I could see that it's not a strong theme that connects them, but the idea that there is a change that takes place in people that you were working with. That's kind of what how I saw these two things fitting together. And it's hard for me to say the 80s favorite movie is The Thing when Fright Night is sitting right there, and I love
Yes.
Fright Night. It's
Yes.
one
Yeah.
of the most entertaining movies that I saw in that decade, and I thought immediately of the film that I would compare it with, or not compare it with, but pair it with, because it's a film that deals with the same kind of thing. The neighbors who have a little bit of an issue, and that's Nope,
Yes. Nice.
which came up earlier in our discussion.
It
So
did.
Fright Night, you have Jerry Dandridge moving in next door, and he's a vampire. And in Nope, your neighbors have, well, they're being haunted by
Something.
something, and it turns out that it's aliens, and you're in the process of exploiting that sort of thing because you're right next door to where the neighbors are having their problem. So it's kind of an interesting theme that's going on there. And so if you're looking for a Saturday double feature, uh, Damien, Lisa, and I have some pairings for you that'll make your Saturday nights nice and creepy and fun to spend some time in the horror genre with. I want to give you guys a chance to promote anything that you've got that you think people would like to turn their eyes and ears to. Damien, have you got something in particular that you want people to look at? Riley on
Uh,
film?
just the Riley on film that I'm gonna do down the road, where I'm gonna ask Lisa to come on.
Oh,
That's gonna be happening. So I will have to decide what to do. But man, everything she says is like, I don't know. Do you like body horror?
Depends, but I'm not totally averse to it.
Oh, okay. Like I've met people that are so into it, and they kind of sort of introduce me to it. But that we don't have to do that. Anyway, I'm
I'm
joking
more into
around.
Dread. I'm more into
Oh,
Dread.
kick ass. Okay. Anyway, yeah, Riley on film. It just happens once a week, sometimes twice a week, and it's real casual. I usually don't have guests, but I've had some really kick ass guests. I had Rich on there like at least 3, 4 times through the years, and
Well, I'm a mouthy guy.
uh, Rich is so great. Thank you, Rich. I always have to thank you every episode I'm on because you're so great.
Well, I appreciate that.
You've really bent everything around your own existence, and like you said, you kind of made it a humble statement. You said, "As I'm getting on in years," and remember, I don't believe in time, so that's not relevant to me. But you said, "I'm getting on in years, so I don't really want to just write after I see everything." But I think that's actually a good thing. Even young people, I think, can learn from that because if you let something marinate, like say you're going to make steak tonight for dinner, it's better when you marinate it. You know what I mean?
There you
Let,
go.
let things marinate. So yeah. Anyway, that's just Riley on film. I just want to promote that, and it's kind of my baby. I've been doing it forever and ever, and it sort of started with the Lambcast because Darren Lucas and I had a podcast called Talking Stars, and it sort of helped me learn how to call people and put them on the schedule and do all the stuff you do. But now I just do it myself, and every now and then I like to handpick a guest, and so I really like to have Lisa sometime. But or anybody who's interested, just give me a hoot and we'll check it out. But yeah, Riley on film, and it's on all the services. I don't think it's on a couple, but it's on like Apple Podcasts and in YouTube
It's easy to find.
yeah,
And by the way,
yeah.
I did see in one of your posts, I don't know if it was Facebook or if it was in the email, where you had the AI reference to Riley on film and the thing
Oh
that
yeah.
came out. And that encouraged me to try out mine on the AI. It freaks me out that the AI is writing about
Scary.
me. I did not like that at all. There's a movie coming for you.
Yeah,
Mm.
my dad says, "Well, you met my dad. You remember my dad.
Yeah.
He says, "Well, I'll call you famous when I write your name on Google and it actually gives a little snippet about you." He said it as a joke. And so I just went there. This is like a couple years ago, and I did it, and here it says all this stuff about me. It just takes text from
Yeah.
various things. But it's so great. He was like, "Oh my god!" Like
Yeah.
some young
I didn't
hack
think it was
wrote this
great. I
about
just
me.
thought it was creepy.
Right.
It is
Lisa,
crazy.
I know that you are not super active on some of the pods that you are on. You're kind of on a hiatus, but I know you do have things to promote. So
I do. So you can check me out on a couple of Rabbit Hole Podcast Network shows. I am on a show with called Fit for a King, on which we are basically what we're doing is he's compiled a bunch of films that Stephen King himself has said, hey, you need to see this movie. So either through Dance Macabre, through his Twitter account, through his uh oh God, words are hard today, on writing. Basically anything that Stephen King has been like, you should check out this film. So we put a bunch together, threw a randomizer on it, and so we've got a show for that. And I like to make a habit of going on other people's podcasts, like the Lambcast. So you can also check out some back episodes of Pictures and Conversations, a Rabbit Hole podcast book club that I host. That's sort of on hiatus right now because I'm back to school and I still can't get my act together. So, but there are a lot of episodes there, a lot of great things to check out in the network. So you'll definitely find something to check out.
I checked out Deep Blue Sea yesterday.
Oh yeah, that's right. I was on Deep Blue Sea. I love being on Deep Blue Sea. I like to go on Deep Blue Sea and talk about the most ridiculous films because I am so proud that I introduced Jay to Santa Jaws. I think that's going to be on my tombstone. I introduced Jay Cluett to Santa Jaws. You're welcome. But I was on Deep Blue Sea, the podcast, talking about Piranha 3 Double D. Just the most ridiculous films. And the irony that I would even like promote these films is fantastic because I'm not somebody who likes comedy. And yet I will go on there and talk about some of the stupidest movies ever made. And I love it.
Well, I love it too because I enjoy a stupid movie as well as anybody else. And
That was
Piranha
pretty stupid.
Piranha 3 Double D was one of the entertaining experiences I had in 2012, and that sentence is one that's burned into my memory. Josh cut off his penis because something came out of my vagina.
Oh God, it was.
You know
All
what?
right.
Can I make a little trailer for the Lambcast and quote that right there and just have it? That's
Feel
a
free.
great.
Feel
Okay.
free.
Thank you. No, I won't. I'm just kidding, but that's great, man. I'm so glad
Well,
you said that.
and on my site, as usual, I am trying to catch up on all the films I've seen. I've got a couple that I still have to write about. Spinal Tap and The Long Walk and The Conjuring are films that I saw this week. And normally, like I said, in the old days, the reviews would have gone up that same day that I saw the movie. But now I'm behind and I'm struggling to catch up. I'll get there eventually. But you can, like I said, my motto continues to be, if I see it in a theater, you'll read about it on my site. So come by and see me and visit and talk about whatever the heck is going on this week, because there'll be something. Thank you once again to Lisa Leahy and Damien Riley for joining me for this film. We're going to walk off now, but you don't have to stay at 3 miles an hour, and you don't have to keep walking after the show is done. Nobody's going to shoot you. We just hope that people will be listening as the podcast comes to an end. Thanks, everybody.
You've been listening to the Lambcast. If you have an idea for a show or would like to join us on the Lambcast, contact us at largeassmovieblogs.com.
Find us on Facebook, just search for Lambcast, or on X, formerly Twitter, at Lambcast. And you can find us on YouTube as well. The Lamb site can be found at largeassmovieblogs.com. We'd also love it if you would leave a review on iTunes.
It's over!